starting to fill up, so I'm just gonna wait for some more people to attend. It's a good audience today. It's always exciting with people unboxing and first-time users. So,
Yeah.
and of course, I'm sure the level is a bit different here. Like, it's a big audience, and some people have been using the drones for a while, and others are new customers. So, of course, just stop me if you have any questions, or you can also ask the questions in the chat. And I have a colleague, Petter, with me here today, who will be responsible for the questions coming into the chat and forward them to me, as I might not be able to read all the chats and stuff as we go. Yeah. So I think the most of the people who signed up seems to be here now, so I think we can start. Welcome everyone to this online training session. It's an introduction course to the Blueye drones, so of course it could be kind of entry level at some stages, but I will also try to give you some ideas on how you can use also the X3 and the extra peripherals, etc., that we also support for more advanced use. And of course, if you have any questions, you can just ask them live or in the chat, and we will do as best as we can to answer them. So, and of course, if the video quality is a bit bad on the slides here, I will send them to you after, because it depends on your network connection. We have gotten feedback earlier that sometimes it can be a bit blurry, but then you'll get the slides after. And just stop me if you cannot read something or have any questions. So first, a little bit about myself. My name is Andreas Viggen. I'm a senior software engineer here at Blueye. I've been working in this company since the very beginning in 2015, starting as a part-time summer student and finishing my project thesis and master's thesis here for the company. So my main responsibility now is the control system in a drone. So the software running inside the vehicle to make it move and behave as we want. Yeah, here you see a picture of the team. We are about 20 people. We have lots of different disciplines in-house. We all from art director to film production. We do, here are some summer interns, electrical engineer. We have our CTO, Jonas, and the sales team. We have our own Bluenux, which is like the operating system running on the drone. And we have a camera engineer for the video pipeline, another electrical engineer, and mechanical engineers. So basically a wide range of different disciplines, so we can do all the development in-house actually. So here is a rough plan for the day. This is typically a physical course, which we then typically use a full day, but now it's kind of compressed because we have a shorter practical session. But yeah, it's pretty much going to be 3 parts, starting with the introduction to the ROV and some technical background. And then we'll do a short break, and I'll show you some videos from diving and try to give you some quick tips on what to think about and how you can also do some simple exercises yourself. And then we have the after work session, which is more like log files and transferring videos, getting out log data and showing the position, etc. So like the main objectives for the course is basically that you can explain to others how the drone is built and why it's built like this. So the idea is basically that you will become super users in your company and be the one that can also teach other people how to use them and yeah, just to spread the usage and find new ways of working smarter. And we will talk about how you can use the drone in an efficient way to solve your missions and how you can kind of try to plan ahead on what to think about before going into the water. We'll do some necessary maintenance, and I'll show you what type of repairs you can do yourself. We'll have some tips and tricks from the physical videos that will like how to get loose if you get stuck, and some strategies for being safe. And of course, it's also very good if you guys get to see how easy it is to look up stuff on our Blueye Help Center, because we have lots of good documentation and how-to guides online, so it's quite easy to find articles guiding you through different things. And if you cannot find what you're looking for, you can always contact us, of course. And then at last we'll do some post-processing and how you can get overlay on the images, log data, etc. So let's just start with a short run-through of the different models we have. We started with the Blueye Pioneer in 2018. So this is the simplest model that has a flat glass in the front and a static camera, so it cannot tilt the camera. And it has a depth rating of 150 meters. And then we did the upgrade to Blueye Pro, which then has the tilting camera. It also has new buoyancy and increased depth rating to 300 meters. Along with the new tether module and some better communication, but slight upgrades. And then there's the Blueye X3, which allows for third-party accessories, such as positioning systems, grippers, sonars, etc. So tell you some more about the X3 capabilities later. An overview of the different hardware that we make. Of course, we have the underwater drones themselves. We have the Blueye charger, which is now, we just released a new model, which is the black one. It's about twice as fast to charge as the white one. And it also has USB-C, and yeah, it's upgraded because of the new battery, which is coming soon. So the Blueye battery is also one of our products. This one has a capacity of 100 watt-hours, which will allows you to take it on an airplane in the hand luggage. The limit is 100 watt-hours, so this is 99.5. And then you can actually take multiple packs as well. So if you are traveling, that will be the way to go, to put it in your hand luggage, and then you take it through check-in. But we're also making a new battery, which is 230 watt-hours. So this will give you yeah, 2.3 times more dive time, and will then not be able to join you on the plane, but you can send it by truck in the post. Yeah, those are, it's not fully completely completed the certification yet, but it will come before summer sometime. And the cool thing is that both the 100 watt hour and the 230 watt hour batteries, they are same shape and same weight, so you can use both of them on the same drone without changing the buoyancy. Next is the Blueye surface unit, which is the communication Wi-Fi router, basically, which is inside the tether reel. So here is also a new upgraded version, the black one, which has the antennas on the inside, because those were exposed and could break, so we decided to move them inside. And it's also upgraded with a new USB-C charging port, so it's also fully waterproofed, the USB-C connector. And then we have the Blueye reel with tether, so we also make this. We have a wide range of different tether lengths, ranging from 75 meters, 150 is the standard, and then we have 300 and 350 meters as well. And there's also a reel which is slightly thicker if you get up to those long lengths. Last here we have the Blueye smart connectors. So this is a part of the X3 development. So this will allow you to connect different peripherals with up to 7 different protocols. So the accessory could be either an Ethernet device or an I2C device or a PVM, and yeah, lots of different protocols. And since we have this smart connector, you don't really have to think about what type of protocol we're using. It will just work for you. Because the way it works is that we can actually program into the connector itself what type of equipment is attached, and then the drone will start the drivers and the software needed to talk to this sensor and make it available in the app automatically. But I can show you more details about this as we start to open the drone and look at it. And of course, any questions so far, you can just shout out. Yeah. So this is like the overview of how the system is, how the information flows. So if you start with the Blueye ROV in the lower left corner, right below my, no, it's not below, it's yeah, it's here to the left. So that's the ROV, and that's where the video camera starts the recording. Everything recording is stored on the drone, but the video is also streamed up through the tether into the Blueye reel. And then in the middle here you see the surface unit, which is the Wi-Fi router that creates its own Wi-Fi, and then you can connect your phone, a tablet, or both iOS or Android, or you can also connect a Mac computer. A Mac M1 can also open the app directly, or you can use a Windows computer for looking at the video stream with the Observer app. And then there's also this Bluetooth controller, which is an Xbox controller that connects to the tablet. And of course we also have another option here, which I can show you here. So this is a new rugged controller, which is Samsung tablet, Active Tablet 3, I think it's called. So it's an industrial tablet which is installed in this rugged case with waterproof joysticks. So then you can see, like, you have this pen and everything. Yeah, I can show you more of this later. But that's a good option if you want something that's even faster to set up and fully waterproof. So that's how the communication is connected. Then I'll just show you a short video on example footage, like what it looks like when you're in the water. So you see, it's all about trying to have small inputs. So when you dive, you want to have a smooth video as possible, because then it's easier to follow an object and to get good details in the video. And since the drone can move also sideways, you can also get nice pivoting motions like this one. So you can see the same object from different angles. And here's an example of how you can also enable overlays. You get like these black boxes with the telemetry data from the drone. So it could be showing the heading, the camera tilt, the depth of the drone, water temperature. And top left you can also see the title and subtitles, which is good if you want to take notes. What part of the dive is it? Is it during first part of the inspection or port side of the ship, starboard side, etc. And if you add a TVL or an altimeter, you can also get the distance to the seabed on the overlay. And there you can see the difference with and without light. And you can do tilting if you have a Pro or an X3. All right. So now I'm going to show you some of the key features of the drone. So you see, like, if we start with I can take up a drone here. And maybe use a different camera. So here you see the drone. If we start with the camera in front, it's a HD camera, which is can be tilted up and down. And then to go sideways, you turn the whole drone. We have a powerful light beneath, so we have a good distance between the camera and the light. This is to reduce the amount of backscatter. So it's almost like looking at the moon. The closer the light source is to the particles, the brighter these particles will be, which is called the backscatter. So that's why we have a good distance between those. We also have a thin tether, because the relationship between the tether thickness and the thrusters is basically what determines the capabilities of the vehicle. So since we have a strong thrusters and thin cable, the drone can go really deep by itself, up to 300 meters or even more. And and that's because the thickness is what really creates the drag. And especially when you get hundreds of meters, that's quite critical. You also see the attachment point of where the tether goes into the drone. That's important for minimizing the external forces on the drone. So if we say the center of gravity is around here, then this is what we call the pitching arm. So if you have a force pulling up here, that will rotate the drone around the center of gravity like that. So the shorter this arm is, the less pitch motion you'll get. If we were to put the anchor point way back here, you would get much larger pitch motions. So that's why it's as close to the center of the drone as possible. And the same goes for turning. When the drone wants to turn, let's say you have tether drag from the side, and then you try to turn, then if this arm is short, then it's possible to turn. If it's really long, then it will be almost impossible to turn, because then a strong force in the back will force the drone back to zero. So that's why the attachment point is in here, and it kind of looks, makes the back of the drone look almost like a sewing machine. Yep. Next, you can see that we have a standing design. So a lot of people ask about this. Why is it standing up? And that's because we have buoyancy in the top, and then we have the weight and the battery in the bottom. This will make it self-stabilizing, so if you push the drone on the side, it will always straighten up by itself because it's light at the top. And this makes it easier to understand what is up and down. So you can always trust that when you look at the camera, you know that up is up and down is down. And if the ship is like laying on a hill, you can kind of see what is straight right away. So that really helps for navigation and spatial awareness. Yeah. Then we also have, like, this is the sway thruster. Allows you to go sideways. So when this is used, the system automatically compensates with the back thrusters to make it go straight sideways. And the vertical thruster, which is in the center here, is what make it go up and down. And then there's the pressure sensor in here that measures which depth the drone is at, and can then, with the control loop, force the drone to stay at a set point, which is called auto depth. And the same we have for auto heading, which is using the compass. Yeah. And then we can say something about the external shape of the hull. You see these fins. They are inspired by the bilge keels on ships. So it's also to reduce the roll motion. So if you start a rolling motion, it will dampen out faster with these fins. And also, when we travel through the water, if you go like 20 meters straight down and you want to land on the seabed, in the first prototypes, the drone would come into an oscillating motion. And this was a problem because you would get seasick when you got to the bottom. But by adding the fins, we could break up the vortices and then the drone would go straight down. So that's why there are fins on the corners. Yeah, and then one last detail is this, you see the inlet is lifted up from the bottom, and this is to reduce the amount of sediments getting sucked into the drone. Because if you have a pipe going through the whole drone, that would be almost like a vacuum cleaner that sucks to the carpet when you get close. But with this design, you don't get that suction effect. And again, if you suck up the sediments, you will get a lot of debris and bad visibility in the camera. So now let's open the drone and see if we can get some of you to open it as well. I see some of you have the drone with you, maybe not all of you, but the ones who do have a drone can put it on the table now and get a 3mm Embraco, which should be in the kit. And I can show you guys here. So now you can see the drone in front of us. We start by unscrewing the back. Then we can take off. I'll put it here so you see it. This is what we call the battery cover. This can be removed at any time if you want to replace the battery. And then we need what we call the pin spanner. It's the same tool used for steel cutters. Vinkelsliper in Norwegian. And that could be, sometimes it's a bit hard to open and other times it goes smoother. It depends on how good the O-rings are lubricated. So when you have gotten some turns to open it, you can do it by hand. So this is I'll take it here. This is the battery end cap, which is consisting of threads and double O-rings. These O-rings, as long as you don't put it on the ground or somewhere dirty, they usually stay quite clean. But if they get dirty, you can always clean them. So then we recommend to put a piece of electrical tape around here, or any piece of tape. And that is to protect the threads. And then if you want to remove the O-ring, you can just squeeze it. I don't know if you can see the focus here. If you squeeze the O-ring, you will get it to lift up. And then you can lift it over the threads when you have the tape on the threads. And that's how you take them off. So once they are off, you can use the small white little tube to lubricate them. And then just take a Q-tip or something to rinse the groove and put them back on. And if you see like any visual damage on the O-rings, you can replace them with the ones that comes in the kit. But it's not normal that they are damaged. So then something weird must happen, like a rock in there or something. But if they look clean and they are lubricated, then you can just put it back in. And it's always good to not leave the drone open in case someone else takes the drone and puts it in the water without checking that the end cap is on. And of course, I forgot to show you guys, while we are in here, we can pull out the battery. So this is the smart battery, and there's an up arrow in the end. So just pay attention to the arrow when you place it in, and that should be up, pointing up on the drone. So if it's laying on the side like this, that would be towards the camera, the drone camera, not the video camera. And then you kind of feel a click when you place it in. And of course, if you have any questions, just ask. I'll just go through this until you stop me. So I can do most of the turns by hand, and then I might do the last ones with the pin spanner. And then we don't put it all the way in. We always leave 1 millimeter or so, because then the threads doesn't get stressed. The water tightening is what we call a radial seal. So it doesn't matter if it's all the way in or if it's still 1 millimeter left. If you completely flatten it, you might pull out the threads, and that could be, then you can jam the whole end cap. So just don't put it to the end. Okay. Next step is to put the drone on its starboard side, because then we get the screws on the right side, correct side. So there are three Umbraco screws, one in each corner, one in the back, one at the top. I don't know if you can see this. And then there's one here at the bottom. And now the trick comes that everyone asks about. You could either lift in the back, and that hurts a little bit, but it works. Then it opens. Or you can try to get the finger underneath this little tap. And then if you lift there at the same time, it's usually easier to get the clip to open, because there is this small clip right here, which is has to release. So once this is open, you put that on the side, and then we are inside the drone. Can you follow along, Fuke Moon? I think you're muted, but...
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Well, did you ask something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you following along, or is it too quick?
We don't want to do that. We're just going to watch because it's a bit fiddly with the cables. We have experience, but it's very nice to watch you do it.
Okay, perfect. Then I know that that's why. Are you asking questions or talking to someone else, Willie?
Can take and tank positive. Can take and tank positive. And we should. Yeah.
Maybe he's talking to someone else. Very good. Yeah, so then we could just remove the buoyancy. And we can, since this is an X3, you see the guest ports at the top. I can show you those after, but we will start with the tether connector, which is the yellow one. So this is just 2 screws, and then we use the Umbraco with a ball, which is very good for the tether, because it will allow you to have a slight angle, because you cannot get 100% directly into the screw. And then it can be a bit difficult to get the screw out without dropping it. But I managed. Okay. Then it's about wiggling this out, and it goes straight out. There's no twisting, no turning. It's straight back. But it's tight because it needs to be waterproof. So here's the same thing, double O-rings. You can squeeze them to get them off, like that. It's a bit far away. And you see the O-rings on the side. So this is also one of our custom connectors that are fully potted in the black material here, and then you have the jacket stops before going into the drone, so it's completely water sealed. Even though you cut the cable here, it will still be sealed, so you don't get water in the drone. So yeah, that is to protect the drone if you are unlucky and cut the cable. So if it looks clean and lubricated, you can just place it back in. Or this is also how you can replace the tether, by just undoing the Umbraco in the back. Or this, what's it called, shackle. Then you can add another tether which is different length, or if you need to replace it. When you put it back in, the orientation does not matter actually, because it's using the home plug standard, and it's a differential signal. So it will figure out by itself what is plus and minus. And then we just put the screws back in. So then I use the short side to place the screw, and then the long side to turn it in. And then we always do the screws just like finger tight, because you're just pushing against plastic, so it doesn't really make sense to crack it. Okay, so that was the tether connector. We could do the thruster connectors as well, but they would be exactly the same. Next to the tether connector, we have the pressure sensor. That can also be replaced by yourself. It's exactly the same interface as the tether, only more pins. And then on the other side, the third port is for external charging. So that is just the cable that goes out to the side on this side to charge the drone from the outside. So you can either swap batteries or you can just charge the... that one was too stuck. But yeah, you can charge the drone directly without opening the battery, which is recommended if you only have one battery and you don't want the hassle of opening it. And then when you put the tether, just make sure it goes under here and in the front like that, and it fits in this, it's a small track in the back and out between the buoyancy. Okay, for those of you with the X3, I will show you one of what the guest port connector looks like. So that's just one screw, and then wiggle it straight out. Then we can see on the drone side there are some push pins, actually more pins than what's on this side, because on this side you see I'm just going to, there's the focus. So then you see that's where the contacts are made, and based on what type of protocol we're using, we use a different configuration. So it could be Ethernet is like that, and then you have I2C like that, and so based on the pinout we can have different wires connected. And then on the inside here there's a small chip that we can program. So now this is programmed to be a blind plug, which is just keeping the drone watertight, but it could also be a cable coming out and going to a sonar or a DVL or some sensor, and then the drone knows automatically what is connected. And the O-rings, everything's the same. You can lubricate them and stuff, make sure they are clean on the pads, and don't leave the drone open. It's good to just keep it tight at all times in case someone else picks up the drone and puts it in the water, and then it will sink. Yeah, and there are 3 of these, so you can have 3 different accessories at once. Very good. Any questions with regarding to the internals of the drone?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, actually, I think I missed how to pull up this GT guest ports.
Yes.
It might looks like hard to pull. Is it for pulling only?
Did you remove the screw?
The screw, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then you just wiggle it back and forth and pull it straight back.
Okay.
It can be tight, especially in the beginning.
Yeah, and my hand is just quite
sweaty.
Yeah, because I touched the grease. Yeah, I removed. Okay.
Yeah,
It.
and now you can see the internals of it.
I'm sorry to other attendees. Yeah, I just want to take this opportunity to ask question. I have the what you call this the DVL A50 and the gripper. So you will take this later or what?
Yes.
You will discuss later.
I won't go through how to install those right now, but there are good articles that I can get Petter to post to you in the chat. And of course, if you have specific questions, we can do that in the end, of course.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And when that accessory is connected, the drone will automatically notice it. So it's basically just to put the wire and slide it onto the drone and power on the drone and you should be fine.
A question.
Yeah.
In case of moist leak, is there any early warning?
So the question is, in case of moist leak, is there like any early warning? The answer is no. There is no warning for detecting humidity. Like we have had humidity sensors, etc., but we have never been able to detect the water damage or the water coming in before it already has damaged the drone. So it's better to just keep it dry in a way, because it's not going to leak by itself. The way it's typically we get problems with leakages is when people open in the back and replace the battery, and then maybe it's raining and they keep the drone open, like upright position, and it will rain into the back of the, or if there's a wave flushing over and gets into the tube. But during normal operation, the risk of leakage is quite low because all the units are tested before leaving the factory. And yeah, it is really difficult to detect the humidity rising before it's already too late. All right. More questions to the internals, or? I could say something about the thrusters. It is possible to replace all thrusters by yourself because we have this smart connector. No, the Blueye thruster connector. So there's one connector for each thruster, and there's also good videos online on how to replace the thrusters. This is not something that we do often, but it is possible to have a spare thruster on the shelf if you want to have the extra redundancy. You can also replace the propeller blades itself. There are extra blades coming with the drone. So if you see like this drone actually has some small dents on the propeller blade, it's going to work perfectly fine like it is, but it's also quite easy to replace the blades if they become unbalanced or really damaged. And when you start the drone, sometimes you will hear this squeaky noise, and that's basically because the bearings are lubricated by water, and if it's been on land and dried out completely, it can give this a squeaky sound because like that. And that's perfectly normal. It's just to put it in a tank of water, or when you go diving next time, it will be good again. So that's normal. And that is because the hub here is open in water, so we cannot put like any oil or anything to reduce the friction. That's by design. All right. And in terms of maintenance, you can open it like this, like once a month or something, if you want to clean out. There might be some dirt coming in through the small cracks and stuff, especially if you're in areas with very light sediments. But or if you are diving in areas with like a lot of fish shells or organic material that over time could start smelling and stuff, then it could be good to open it, rinse it with fresh water, and let it dry completely. Some people put it directly in a watertight Sargus case, and then it could be kind of humid in there over time. So maybe keep the lid open at least to let it air out. Other than that, I would recommend to rinse it in fresh water every time you use it. just like, and the test you can do is actually to, if you kind of push on the arms, the more like crack sounds you hear in the plastic, the more salt you have. So if it's smooth, then it's clean, and if you hear like squeak, squeak, then it's lots of salt in it. And that's just like any diving equipment, that it will last longer if you rinse it every now and then. But again, some of our drones haven't been rinsed that much, and they still work. So it's just best practice. Cool. Then I think we can skip along. Or maybe I can just close this drone so it's not in front of me. So that's another important step actually. When you close it, there are 2 hinges in the front. I don't know if to get the best angle for this, but you see the hinges. They go on in the front as a door. Make sure they enter before you close it. And then just make sure the buoyancy material got all the way down and that the tether is not getting squished in the back. And then you just close it and press on the sway thruster. And you will hear the click, and you see it fits well with the other part. Then we can just put in the screws. And close it. And these screws can also just be finger tight, like they won't fall off. Same for the back one, you don't have to force it in just until it stops. And then it's good to go again. All right, so now I'm going to go through some of the Blueye softwares. We have some apps to control the drones. I'll show you guys the control buttons, the different diving modes we have, how you can calibrate the compass, how you can change some settings in the surface unit, how you update the drone, and yeah, other features on more X3 specific things such as positioning data with DVL and stuff like that. I can show you in the end if you got time. So the Blueye software this is all the software we make in-house here in Trondheim. So it's basically, if we start from the left, we have the Blueye app, which is the main app to control the drone. This is available both in Android and iOS Apple devices, iPhones and iPads. And we also have the Blueye Observer app. So the main app is used for controlling the drone, and the Observer app is used for showing the video and the heading and depth telemetry. So you can have a second device to just observe the video, or maybe you have this device plugged into a large TV, if you have some people have their own minivan or a remote office that they can drive around to the side of the pier and sit inside with the large screens, and then they can have the observer app running inside the car, and maybe there's another guy standing outside driving the drone, or both of them can be inside the car, of course. And the same goes for boats and some, especially in like fish farming, we have these working boats where people tend to sit inside the main house of the boat and drive the drones on larger screens, for instance. Yeah, moving to the right, we have the Blueye file transfer app. So this is a desktop application for either Windows or Mac OS. So this allows you to download videos and images directly from the drone to your laptop or PC. And that is to, yeah, for the people who prefer to get the files directly onto the computer. But you can also use the main app, the Blueye app, to get images onto the phone and then take it from there. And of course, like any files on your phone, you can share them with SharePoint or Dropbox or iCloud or what you prefer. And then all the way to the right, we have the Linux operating system, which is basically the Linux distribution that we build and develop ourselves, and that's the operating system running on the drones. So this means that we have full flexibility in choosing what we want to be running on the drone and what type of low-level packages, etc. And for universities and like more advanced use, you could also use the Blueye SDK. So that's a software development kit, which allows you to connect to the drone, and you can download all the images on the drone, all the videos on the drone from a Python script, for instance. Or you can also write your own programs to control the drone. So instead of using the Blueye app, you could use your own Python program and read a joystick and tell the drone to go forward from programming. So that's our software interface to allow students and researchers to do other things than what our main app is doing to control the drone. And there's also ways to get the video stream directly out. And all this is available online on the page, on our GitHub page. Yeah. So once you get the drone in the water, it will look something like this. This screenshot is actually from what we call the demo mode in the app. So it is possible to get into this view even without being connected to the drone, if you just want to show someone, a colleague, or what it looks like and what are the controls. You can get familiar with the menus and play around a little bit without actually being in the water. And especially now with the newest feature, which is the app function, no, the map function, then it could be okay to go in here and check out that. I can show you that yeah, when we get to the map section. But the main thing here is that you see there are two large touch symbols for screen input, touch input. And then you can tap in the middle of the screen and those will disappear. And you can also swipe your finger up to get everything disappear without heading bar and depth. So you get like a minimalistic view. And then you can still use the joystick to control it, of course. And if you don't have your joystick, you can always use the touch as well. Then you see like the dive time, the temperature of the water, battery status for drone, surface unit and phone. And you have the different control modes. This is auto depth, auto heading, lights can be dimmable, take a photo, start recording and stop recording. If you click the top right corner, the hamburger menu, you will get an overview of the control layout. And this is also dynamic, so that's worth noticing. This will change if you connect the gripper. For instance, the boost and slow buttons, they will change to open and close gripper automatically. And the labels and everything will also change automatically. So if you're uncertain how to do something, you can always just click these controls and then you will see how it is right now with the setup you have. If you use this other tablet, then you will also see this in the image instead of the Xbox controller. And then you have different menus for lights, camera. You can adjust the hue and saturation, bitrate. Yeah, video overlay. There you can change the title and subtitle for the dive. So you can give the mission a name and the different sections if you do port side and starboard side. And yeah, however you find it smart to group things. And if you select to include video overlay, that will be burnt onto the video. So the black boxes, they will be in the video file. And you can turn it off and then just add it later on the pictures, for instance, when you do the import. The compass offset is only to rotate the 3D model in the top left, this one. So it's correct with respect to yourself, because it's using the phone's compass and the drone's compass to show the relative heading. It's not very important to use it if you don't want to. And then, of course, we have the diagnostics page, which is mainly for debugging. And if something is not working, then a screenshot of the diagnostics page is really helpful when creating a support ticket for us. Yeah, that we talked about in the app. So here are an overview of the basic motions. Quite intuitive to many, but it's good to see the 4 degrees of freedom. It's up and down, forward, backwards. You can turn with the back thrusters, and it can go straight sideways by using the sway thruster and compensating with the turning at the same time. So this is possible because of there's actually 2 gyros in the drone that can measure if the drone is rotating, and then it will go straight sideways when you tell it to go sideways. And then we have the automatic modes. So auto depth will use the depth sensor to keep the depth, because if you don't have the auto depth, it will float up. And if you run out of battery, it should float up. Of course, if you have an X3, it depends on how you trim the drone. If you have lots of extra stuff, it could be negative, but the best practice is to have it slightly positive, so it doesn't have to work a lot to keep the depth, but still it will come up when it runs out of power. But it could be other areas where you want the drone to sink instead of coming up. If there's some hazards above you, then you want to fail to safe would be going to the bottom instead of going to the surface. And then you can add the weight plate, for instance, and it will be slightly negative instead. And then auto heading is using the IMUs, as I said, to keep the course the same when you want to drive straight forward. We also have a new control mode called station keeping if you have the DVL. So this will be using the DVL, a Doppler velocity logger, to measure the drone's velocity relative to the seabed, and then drive those velocities to 0 by giving in control inputs, and then the drone can stand perfectly still, even in strong currents. But of course, then the DVL needs to have a lock on the seabed, and that works up to approximately 30 meters altitude above the seabed. Yeah, and a new mode coming soon is also autopilot, so you can go to a waypoint if you have a DVL or a UGPS, underwater positioning system. Then you can go to unknown locations such as a shipwreck, or maybe a point on a pipe where you found a leakage last time. You can more easily get back to the same location. Of course, if there are any questions, just shout out or put it in the chat so Petter can shoot it in where it fits. Yeah, I can put my head on the other side maybe. So next is the Blueye Observer app. Here you can see an example from a drone with a guestboard camera. So if you have the guestboard camera connected, typically to one of the sides or upwards, straight down, depends on the application, then you can see both the cameras at once in the Observer app. And if you have it in portrait mode, you can see both of them at the same size. Then you can also have picture-in-picture, like one of them being smaller, or you can also swap which one is the larger camera. And when you hit record, it will record both cameras at once. There are some settings you can change in the service unit settings. It's basically what most people change is the name of the Wi-Fi. So especially if you have more than one drone, it's highly recommended to name the drones and put a Wi-Fi name that you know that makes sense to you. Just to make it easier not to mix up the two and which one is connected to which one, etc. It's usually not a problem if you only have one drone, but if you attend a course and there are 10 other drones, then it's always a mess when people try to log into each other's drones. And you can also change the password if you don't want it to be the standard password, because of course that's known to everyone. For the Wi-Fi frequency, we always use the 5 gigahertz, because otherwise you need to limit the video bitrate a lot if you go to 2.4, but some applications work better with that, of course. But default is 5, so use 5. And for iOS devices, we recommend channel 44 because of some special Apple functionality. That's a large topic as well, but we'll just keep it at channel 44. And then you can just save and apply, and then the app will walk you through the steps, and the router will change network, etc. while on the service unit. It is also possible to connect to the service unit with the Ethernet dongle, so a USB-C to Ethernet, and then you can have put that directly in a computer, or you can have another dongle to get the Ethernet to iPhone or Android connection if you want to have a wired connection without Wi-Fi. Some areas does not allow Wi-Fi, and then it's possible to turn it off. Or if you just want to have a solid link, if there's like lots of disturbances from ship radars, etc. Yeah. We also have the Blueye software updates. So we typically release a new software maybe about 4 times a year, and that will come with new functionality such as it could be new overlay features, new support for new sensors if you have X3 with the DVL positioning, go to waypoints. All this new functionality will come through drone software updates. So the way this works is that there's a file in the cloud that you download to your phone, and then the phone has to be connected to a Wi-Fi with internet. And once this file is on the phone, you can change to the Blueye Wi-Fi and then click apply update to drone. Then we will show you like a progress bar, and the drone will reboot and come back up with the new software. So this is a pretty old screenshot. It shows version 1.8.72 master. But now we're on 3.1.52. So especially if you have a DVL, I would recommend to update to the latest master, because there are some minor fixes there. And it's always good to be on the latest, because then we might have fixed the bugs you are experiencing already. And for the app itself, then it's typically getting updated automatically through App Store. It depends on the settings on your phone if you allow for automatic updates. If you don't have automatic updates, then just go to the App Store and search for Blueye, find the app, and then see if it says up to date, or if you can click update. Because it's good to have the latest app as well, because then you know that it's compatible with the newest drone software. And there are some devices that don't have SIM cards, and if you never connect them to the internet, they won't get the updates. So it's good practice to connect your controlling device to a Wi-Fi with internet sometimes, just to get the updates, at least to check for updates. You can also do live streaming very easily in video meetings. There was a time where Microsoft Teams was working best here, but now it's actually Zoom meetings that has the best performance in terms of streaming live video. So if you just create a Zoom meeting, invite your participants, and join the meeting with the drone, you can just share the screen on the phone or tablet, and then everyone can see what the drone sees right away. And this can be really useful if you are at different locations, you want to pull in some experts, or you want to take some decisions there and then, if you want input on what to look closer at. There are many things to kind of share the situation. Either it's shipping like this rope, or it could be in a fish farm with a hole in the net, or the list is long. And of course, everyone can talk to each other, and it's also a way just to make the communication easier if some of the participants are in a crane and the other ones are standing on the ground. It could be someone in the boat in a container just 100 meters away, but still you can't see what they're doing. So now, any questions with regards to software and streaming and updates? And it's all really boring or really easy? If not, I will just go further to the preparing for dive, get ready for diving. Yeah, so good practice is to, if it's been a while since you used the drone the last time, I would recommend to just power on the drone, take the device that you're planning to use the day after, and then check that you have the latest software on the drone and the phone. Check that you can connect to it, see the video. If you connect the Bluetooth controller to your phone, this will be faster next time because it will already be paired. And then you can also check if the drone is calibrated. And the way you do that is just to turn the drone in a slow circle and then see if you're able to get readings from north, east, west, and south. If there's a really bad calibration, most of the readings will be from maybe 30 degrees around north, for instance. Yeah, on previous courses, a lot of people have been struggling with the calibration. So are you guys, do you want me to show you how to calibrate the drone? Maybe Carlo, who has a brand new drone, I don't know if you have calibrated it.
Actually, not yet been tried to calibrate, but I already downloaded apps.
Yeah.
I tried to turn on the camera, but I think it should not be turned on.
I can show you the calibration. It's fairly straightforward. So start by turning on the router. And then we just wait for that to boot. We will power on the drone with the magnet. On the drone. And then once the Wi-Fi is up, I go to Wi-Fi settings. Check the name, 3E, 3A maybe? No, 3E. There. So now I'm connected to the Wi-Fi, drone Wi-Fi. I open the Blueye app. And then now it's running. Then I can just go to settings drone settings, and compass calibration. So then you see this screen. And then I will ask Petter to come here and hold the phone. And I will take the drone in the back here. So I will start with the upright axis. Oh, you have to start it. So then it's upright. Is it green?
Green.
So then I do it on this side.
Green.
And then we do the other side.
Green.
And upside down maybe.
Green.
Upright.
Green.
So that one.
Green.
And once it's finished, I just place it on the ground. And then he clicks continue.
There.
Ja, så där. So now it's calibrated. First, it does the rotations to measure the. Now you need the focus. We do the rotations to measure the magnetic field in all orientations and make a ball, and then afterwards we place it on the ground to run the thrusters, because then the drone can measure the magnetic field of each thruster. It will also calibrate the gyros when the drone is completely still, so don't move it while it's doing this, because then it will think that it's turning all the time. So that's how you calibrate it. And if we go back to the main screen here, you can see I can start diving. And yeah, now the drone is behind me. So, and you see the compass at the top. And when I rotate it, it will change heading. That means it works. You'll also get a notification here if the calibration is bad. Maybe I can zoom in more here. What's cool now is that in the newer apps you can also go to navigation and see the map in the app. And you can also switch to a different map if you want to. Especially in Norway, we have a good open source sea map. Not that one. This is the normal map that you typically have on sailboats. But if you do the Norgeskart, you get more like a high resolution map with the depth contours. And if you have a DVL or a UGPS system, you can also get the drone position straight into here, and you can see the position of the user is this guy with the helmet there. Yeah. And on diagnostics, you will see details from the navigation system if you have a navigation sensor attached. You can also do points of interest if you want to save a location, or if you want to import a list of known areas. So I can delete the point, or I can import a CSV file with all the wrecks in Trondheimsfjorden. So here you can see the best dives in Trondheimsfjorden, which is our fjord. So for instance, this one is Short Sunderland. It's an airplane from the Second World War. Or you could see tugboat, some barge. Yeah, or it could be your own points. You can just long tap and then it will be a new point, and you can make this its own name, rename it here. Yeah.
Can you explain
Question?
how to read the drone picture in the upper left corner? Animation.
How to read this? So this is a 3D model on iOS, and on Android it's 2 pictures. So it's one icon to indicate the pitch of the drone. So one icon will be rotating to show the pitch, which is the forward pitching, and the other one is indicating the drone seen from behind to show the rolling motion. But if you have the iOS, you will see a 3D model like here, and then if you place the phone on the ground or in front of you, so you know it's in one direction, you can see that I can show you this screen now. Then you see that the model is rotating. When I turn the drone, the model is rotating. But if I put the drone on the ground and rotate the phone, it will also be rotating. And that is because it takes the compass of the drone and subtracts the compass of the phone to show you the relative heading. So it's used to indicate how the drone is pointing relative to the way you are looking. So it's telling you if the drone is driving away from you or if the drone is driving towards you. And then this calibration page is just to make it more correct if you see that it's 10 degrees to the side or something. Yeah. It's easier to just test it out a little bit yourself, but play around with the drone first and then the phone, and then see if you can just put the offset to make it more correct. Question?
Kan du vise hvordan man kobler til Wi-Fi og mobilnettet samtidig på iPhone?
Yeah. Is that a question for Wi-Fi?
For Wi-Fi, yes. So
Okay, so
sharing video, etc. How do I get internet when phone is connected to drone Wi-Fi?
yes. So this is let's say you want to have a Teams meeting and you want to be connected to 5G and to the Wi-Fi for the drone at the same time. Then you can be lucky in a way, like sometimes you get a prompt, a dialogue here that asks you to continue to use cellular internet even though I'm connected to this Wi-Fi. Then you can just click OK. But if you don't get that dialogue, there is a way to force the phone to use 5G for internet. And that is to just go to settings. And then you go to Wi-Fi. And we want to click the I for information, and instead of having automatic IP, we can do manual, and we enter an IP address on the network. So it could be, this is the subnet for the drone, so we need to just pick a IP which is a static IP for our phone, and the drone is 101, so don't pick that one, and 99 is also taken, but most likely you will find a number which is not taken already. And then you can just do 255, 255, 255, and 0. And now the phone knows that I won't find the internet on this network because the router is blank. So then it will use 5G, as you see in the upper right corner. I don't know if the focus is with me. So now it's 5G, even though I'm on Wi-Fi. And it says no internet connection. So that this is only necessary if you want to be on Zoom or Teams while you're diving. If you just want it because you want to get the map, then you can use our offline cache feature. So it basically means if you are connected to the internet in the office, you can go to, let's get the focus going here, there. You just go to settings and go to app settings and scroll down, and there's map settings. And here you can browse around, and everything you now see will be cached onto the phone. So this means that if you know that tomorrow I want to inspect this pipe at Korsvika, it goes out here, then I have to zoom at the different levels and browse the area, because then the map will be downloading these tiles. This is where the pipe goes out. And then this will be stored in the application for maybe a month or so, like until the operating system wants to use the available cache for something else. So here you can store the map, and then it will be available also offline when you don't have internet. So this is recommended especially for Android devices, because then it's a bit more cumbersome to have internet on the phone and the drone network at the same time. So that's why we have this offline caching of maps, at least. And you can swap between different maps, but it's you cannot use the Google Maps, satellite and street for caching. Then you need to have the internet connection while diving. But the 3 other ones you can use with caching. So for international customers, it's the OpenStreetMap that will be the one if you want like a sea map. Yeah, I hope that answered the question. Another question?
Can you get the map on the Pioneer?
Yes. If you want a map on the Pioneer, of course you will get the map in the app. Like everyone will get this map with the position of the user, which is the phone GPS. But if you want the drone in the map, you need to have a UGPS system. So that's the underwater positioning system from Waterlinked. That's the one we have support for, which gives you the position in the app. And also when you have this, when the drone knows where it is, it can save the geolocation of the drone in all the images while you're diving. So if you have to take 10 pictures while you go along a pipe, you will see how these images are attached to the pipe as you go. And the cool thing is that this also works on the Pioneer or Pro, because the water-linked UGPS is an external transponder, so it has its own battery and does not need to be connected physically to the drone or with a wire. You just have to mount it. I see the Fukemoon, they have a underwater GPS on the white one. So
you have sharp eyes.
yes.
Yeah, we have been testing it, but we had some issues with the heading sensor. I guess there might be some software issues that can improve the situation for us, I think. Is there any new updates you know about?
Yes. Have you been able to use it with the Blueye software, so you get it inside the map, or do you use it with the Waterlink software?
We used it with Waterlink with the Python script for logging the position, but
yes, because now we just released a new software where we get the position into the map I just showed you, and then we will also do logging, and everything will be part of the dive log. So then it will be much easier to work with the position data afterwards, and you will also get status and diagnostics, etc., right into the same interface. And then no, just about the heading. Then we use the heading from the drone to show the heading instead of. Yeah, I guess you won't get any heading in the Waterlink UI unless you post a heading to their API.
It was more you use the dynamic positioning for dynamic heading of the surface unit, because we were on a boat, and then when it turns and the gyro was too slow, so then you get the position moving for the ROV a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, jumping 20 degrees here and there. It was taking a bit too much time. But I think it can be read.
Yes. Then step 1 is to get the latest software from Waterlink. I don't know if you're on the 3.1 or because they did some changes to that compass part, and the other one is to calibrate the gyro while it's on land, so it's standing still. And then you can also set the in the latest software they only use a gyro, so you have to set the initial heading of the topside box, and that could be done directly from the Blueye app now. And then you can use the compass in the phone, so you just align the phone with the box and then click issue heading, and it uses that. And you can always reset the heading during the dive if you feel like it's drifting, or so you can kind of update the heading right before you want to take a point of interest that you want to make as accurate as possible. Let's put it that way. So then you know, okay, this is a fresh heading. This is my best guess on where I'm actually at right now. And then coming soon is also then you can just go to waypoint if you have the GPS connected into the app, because then the drone knows where it is and where it wants to go, and it will drive in that direction until it's there.
Nice.
Yes. Then, yeah, I can also show you the export of the position data at the end here. All right. So let's chug along on the slides here. So when you have calibrated the drone and you think you're ready to dive, then just put everything on charging and make sure everything is all set so you don't get a surprise the day after. And then it's like common knowledge to most people, but it's always good to kind of break down a little bit the things that might surprise you when you get out diving. So I always recommend to think about the environment and conditions of the area that you are going to do a job. Is it in a harbor? Is there a lot of traffic in the area? Where can you place yourself to reduce the stress and being in the way of others? Or how can you be less dependent on others? Are you going to drive the drone from a boat or from land? Is it going to be anchored, or do you have to keep position manually with the motor? That's always much more difficult than you think, because the wind is changing and the current is changing. It's very tiresome to pay attention to where the tether is at all times and make sure that you don't get it in the thruster. So it's always best if you can either anchor up the boat, drive from land, drive from a larger boat, or use a GPS anchor. That's what we have on our small buster boat. So that's a small propeller which is in the very front of the boat. You just tip into the water, and then it uses GPS and compass to keep the position of the boat without the main engine running. And that propeller is so small that if the tether gets into it, it automatically stops and doesn't do any harm to the tether. And of course, if it's deep water, then GPS anchor is really, really good tool, because you don't want to pull 200 meters of anchor rope. Yeah, then it's about current and waves. Think about where you place yourself. If you're in a river, it's always large differences on the sides or in the middle or close to bottom. It could be maybe in like a back turn of the river. It could be more calm, at least start in the calm area and then gradually go out in more current. And with the DVL, it really helps with the station keeping, to kind of let you get the time to cope with the forces. And visibility. Get familiar with how the visibility changes in your area with respect to, has it been raining the last days, or is it winter time, a lot of sun? So the rain typically provides or leads to really murky water because of all the mud that gets flushed out. And then if it's the middle of the summer, you can get a lot more algae and less visibility normally. And of course, if you can prepare for the weather, can you stay under a roof or a shelter somehow, stay inside a car in the back of a minivan, or be inside the boat? Make it more comfortable. If you can sit down in a proper chair, then it's much easier and more fun to do the inspection and what you're actually there to do. And then also sun protections on the screen. If it's like really high sun, you can get a lot of reflections. And think about how the wind and waves are where you're going. Like if you're going across a fjord, it's typically very different on the other side than where you come from, because all the waves gets pushed up to the other side. So yeah, just make a plan and kind of think through the things that can go wrong and how you can make it be easier once you are out there. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about the X3. The X3 is, as I said, a new drone that comes with the guest ports that allows for a lot of new payload sensors. So if you look at the right here, you see top left is the Oculus multi-beam. This is a forward-looking multi-beam sonar. It will allow you to look up to 100 meters in like a fan-shaped video of what's in front of you. It's using sound and the echoes of 250 beams to draw this image of what is in front of you. And it also has two different frequencies, one for long range and one for high quality or high resolution when you get closer. And this is really impressive sonar. You can find small objects such as a knife or a padlock, even almost, like at least bicycles and stuff will show up very clearly on this, or bodies if you're searching for people. Then next we have the gripper. We have two different type of grippers. This top right one is one axis, and the other one is two axes. You can also rotate. And this one can also replace the end effectors. So you can have a different claw with the softer grabbers, or you can have one with more teeth on it to make it stick more to cloths and stuff. But that's really helpful if you want to retract something, attach. You can bring a hook down with a larger rope, and you can put that into like a crab cage, for instance, to pull up lost fishing equipment, or if you want to pull a line through a hole at the bottom, or yeah. So grippers are good to have. Then next we have the underwater GPS, which is the external positioning system that we talked about. So it's self-contained with its own battery. So that's why it will work with both Pioneer and Pro and X3. And how it works is that the topside box connects to the Blueye Wi-Fi network, and that way they can talk through the network topside to get the position into the drone. And then when the drone knows where it is, then they can use the position for, going to waypoints and capturing position on images, etc. Geolocation. The next one is a polar scanning sonar. So that's almost like a ship radar that draws an image 360 degrees in 2D. So it will give you like a flat overview of what is around you. That can be really helpful in small basins or harbor areas where you have strong echoes from the sides, and then you can see easily from the top where the drone is in relation to that. The DVL from Waterlinked, that is a Doppler velocity logger. So that's sending out 4 beams in 4 directions and measures the phase shift of the sound or the echo coming back. And that way you can measure if the drone is going to the one side or forward or backwards. And then you know which rate it's moving, and that will allows you to also integrate that, and you will get a position estimate based on the velocity. So that's why we can get a dead reckoning track, what we call it. So if you know a starting point and the heading of where you started, you can get a position trail of where you have been. And that's also needed for station keeping, because then it knows what to stand still with respect to. The next one is the guestboard camera. It's basically a camera that you can place in any direction, upwards, downwards. We have different mounts for different orientations. And with the guestboard light, which looks the same, you will also get light in that direction. It could be a backward looking camera if you want to look at the cable, for instance, the tether. And the last one is a Cygnus thickness gauge. So that's using ultrasonic sound to measure the speed of or time of flight in a piece of metal. And if you know the type of metal, then you can measure the thickness of the steel plate. So it's basically just measuring how long does it take to get the echo very precisely. And then you know if you have 10 or 8 millimeters of steel. And if you're about to get a hole, if it's rusting through, for instance. And this one can have, the sensor can actually get the reading even though it's growth on the top. Or if it's coated, and because it goes, the sound kind of goes through that and into the metal. Cool. Any questions regarding external equipment? We also have more, but this is like a group of the most used sensors. We will also come with environmental sensors such as pH and CTD, etc. if that's of any interest. And all these sensors will be integrated properly with the drone, so you get the relevant data into the same log file, so it's easier to work with afterwards. Any questions? Maybe we are using more time today. Yeah.
After changing the name of the tether Wi-Fi, it now asks for password when trying to log in despite not choosing a new password, which means we're effectively logged out of the unit as we can connect to it and change the password.
Okay, so if you have changed the name of the unit and you did not change the password, then the password would be the same as it was before you changed it, or you changed the name. And if you don't remember that password, you could try the basic password, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. And if that doesn't work, then you just have to reset the surface unit completely. And that is done in 2 different ways, depending on if it's the black one or the white one. So Petter will show you the user manual on how to reset the surface unit. And you either have to use a pen to reset it on the white one, or click the battery symbol 7 times on the black one. And then it will be the complete reset, so it's the standard network name and standard password. Okay, so the setup and connect I showed you already with the calibration session we had. So that's this is relevant actually. So you see, a lot of people ask if they can lower the drone by the tether into the water, and we do this all the time. It's just that you might wear the tether a bit faster if you do it like this. But in very many scenarios, this is really convenient, so that's why we also recommend doing it actually. But one thing to think about is to make sure that you take one grip at a time. So when he lowers it down now, you will see that he doesn't just break in his hands, he takes one grip at a time. So the drone kind of goes you get a good grip on the tether. Because if you just like open your hands slightly, you could burn your hands first, and then secondly you will stretch the outer jacket, and then the tether over time will be almost like a phone cable, the old school phone cables, and look ugly because the outer jackets get stretched more than the internal core, and then it eventually the outer jacket could also rip. But if you do the firm grips, you get force into the core, which is where the reinforced Kevlars are taking up the forces. App settings we talked about. There are a lot of things you can change, such as freshwater and saltwater, if you want the depth to be 100 meters instead of 103 meters, because the salinity is different in salt and freshwater. So that's where you put that in. Buoyancy, you can say that you have a deep kit if you have a drone which is upgraded to go to 500 meters, so you don't get the warnings and stuff when you approach 300 meters. Yeah, you can use your own logo. If you have a inspection firm, you can put your own custom logo, so all the images have burnt in X company logo in the lower right corner. You can use the Blueye logo or no logo, but this is burnt into the video, so it's not possible to take it off after. So if you play with this, do some tests and check that you understand what it does. And then the compass calibration. Yeah, you can click drone settings and guest ports, then you'll see, based on the smart connectors, you can see what kind of extra equipment is attached. So here's a DVL, polar scanning sonar, and a blind plug. And then they also list their maximum depth rating, so sometimes the equipment can only do 100 meters, and then that will be the limiting depth you can go. Several things. And if we ask you guys to share dive logs, if there's a problem with the drone, then just check that this one is enabled, because otherwise we will not get the logs. And that's when you click the sync dive logs, then they will be sent to us if you have opted in here. And when you update the app, you will always get this what's new splash screen. And like we all do, we just skip through this as fast as possible. But if you felt like you wanted to read it again, you can always click settings and then what's new, and you can see it again. And then you can see the new features like improved map and export to different file formats, DVLs, altitude, station keeping. Yeah. So these are some of the practical part of the course, basically. What we typically do is we go out to the backyard here at Dora, and we toss out an object tied to a rope, and then the first thing is kind of find your own tether, and then the next one is to follow the rope going down to a rock or what you decide to throw in. This is a good exercise because it's many scenarios where you want to follow an anchor line, or maybe the rope to a crab cage, or yeah, basically things going into the ocean is typically secured with some kind of thing going to the bottom. And then so the idea here is to not get too close, because then you can quickly fall off to one of the sides. But you want to be sure that you're close enough so you don't lose sight of it. And the deeper you get into the water, the more difficult it will be to find this distance. And if you have current and a lot of particles and bad visibility, it also gets even worse. And then it's also good to use the light, because you will get more reflections from the rope itself. You can also try to go under it, like I did first, and then you can also try to go on the side and see what you think is easier to, how it is easier to follow it. And of course, sometimes things are going sideways as well, like these floating ropes that are, yeah, that's a chain, starting of a chain. And then it's also very good to practice going sideways while keeping the camera at one fixed point. So then you can get really nice footage from different angles, and give you a better kind of depth perception. Like the crack in the front here, it's difficult to see from straight ahead, but when you came from the side, you could see it. And the same goes for fishnet inspections, or it's always good to look at something from two angles, because everything is flat in 2D video. So a trick to have a smooth motion like this is to reduce the boost. So you go maybe a little bit slower than normal. That can be done with touch if you want static boost. And then you go full sideways and just tune the heading with the turning joystick. Because if you have one of them all the way full at the time, you only have to work with one of them. But if you use both, it will start overcompensating, and you quickly get like a small wobbling effect, because your brain isn't fast enough to compensate. Depends on your brain though, but yeah. And this is also a recurring topic, like what do I do if I get stuck? It's good to practice trying to get stuck sometimes and just getting loose again. Especially if you have two drones available, you can use the other one to film where the point is where you got stuck. But the tip is to follow the tether back, try to see where the issue is, and then drive it loose before you start pulling the tether. Because if you pull the tether first, you will end up with the drone all the way into the problem with your back facing the problem, and you won't be able to turn around, and then you are completely game over in a way, because you don't have anything to play with. So if you feel like the drone is stuck, turn around, drive back to the problem, inspect, and then you can maybe try to wiggle the cable a little bit to see if it's completely stuck, and then drive it loose the way you came from. And if you have another drone, you can get help from that one. And last resort is to have a drone with a gripper, of course, or cut the cable and make a new one. After the drone, just rinse it in fresh water, download the videos and logs, import to the phone. Yeah, for storing batteries, you can leave them at approximately 40 to 50%. And make sure the drone is not wet when you put it in the Sargas, because then it will never dry. So a little bit, I'm gonna rush through a little bit now because I see we are running late on time. And of course, if you guys have to leave, I totally understand. But we're almost at the end now. So this is, when you're done diving, the drone is up, you hit the sync dive logs on the front menu of the app, and then you click the lower left tab, which is dives, and then you'll see your dive appear. When you click the dive, you can change the title of the dive, you can change the comment and operator, you can see the pictures you took. And then if you scroll down, you will also see more graphs of depth profile, current consumption, etc. Then it's also really easy to export the dive. So by clicking the top right icon, which is the sharing icon on iOS, you can save this as a PDF file, a Word file, or a CSV file. And if you have a DVL or a UGPS system, you will also get the KML file or a KMZ file. These are the Google Maps standard for file formats for storing position log. And I can show you one of these files right after. If you do the Word file, you will get like a Word document like this, and that could be opened on the computer or in the Word app directly on your phone or tablet. And then you can continue to write comments underneath each picture before you export it to PDF and send it to your computer or any other way of sharing the files. You can also use your own Word templates. So if your company wants to have a different logo in the top right and you have a different format for a different theme on how your reports look, you can get it directly into that right away. But the main benefit here is that it automatically pulls the pictures from the dive and puts it into the report, so you don't have to do all the kind of scaffolding of getting the pictures in the right format and the right time and from the right dive. Now they are grouped and they already have a name, like the pipe inspection with the overlay, and easier to know what you're talking about. And you can share it, like the share a file on iPhone. You can airdrop it to your tablet or send it in an email to someone else. Yeah, the first thing you do is to transfer media files. You just select the images that you captured and transfer. You can add the title and subtitle also at this stage for the images. And you sync log files. It imports the log files. It uploads them if you opted in for the upload. And now they are available in dives. You click the dive. You can scroll through the pictures sideways. You can edit things. And you can pick operator from your contacts. And browse the images. And here is the example of a file with KML and KMZ. And you can share it with people. And like I showed you earlier, you can also upload a list of points of interest. So this is from a customer in the United States. They want to inspect a pipeline or a water line going from one side of the lake to the other. They have some approximate positions, and now they want to go down with an ROV and check if the cable is actually there or if it's like in a different path. So now they can load the points first and then go and save the new points as they go. This is a screenshot from, or a picture from how it looks in Google Earth. And it can also be used in other map tools if you have like another GIS system for showing maps or construction project, etc. And then you can get like where the pipes are and if it maps correctly, etc. Any questions to the support? No, to the report.
Can you import ship hull maps for waypoints?
Not as of now. That's not supported. That's a good idea though. But no. If it's enough people that wants it, then we could make it. Yeah. If no other questions, I'll run quickly through how the help center works. So it's basically a web page, which is support.blueye.no, which is where you can find all our help articles. You can click the user guide, find troubleshooting tutorial videos for, like I said, replacing thrusters, how to use your own custom template for Word, or if you want to make your first 3D model, and also sign up for courses like this one. I could try to open it here. So it's really easy. You just find an article that like ending a dive and syncing log files, and they will show you the steps to do this. Or if you have some new DVL, for instance, this will walk you through all the things you can do with the sensor, where you can plug it in, how you attach it, and best practice for guiding cables, add the extra buoyancy, the new station keeping and features. And of course, if you cannot find help yourself, you can just send us an email on support@blueye.no and we will help you. And if you can take a screenshot of the diagnostics page when the issue is there, then it will help us a lot, because then we get like an overview of everything that is running, the software versions, the phones, etc. We also have this extended warranty service. So if your warranty has run out but you still want to send it in for a service and get another year of extended warranty, you can do that for approximately $2,000. It's also possible to upgrade a Pioneer to a Pro, or you could we have options for replacing a Pro with the X3 and get a discount. And one last thing I can show you guys is this a KML file. So now I just synced the log files, went into the dive, clicked airdrop to my computer, and then double-click the KML file. And if you have Google Earth installed on your computer, it will automatically open the file and show you the location of the track. And then, since this is the KMZ file, it means it's a zipped file with all the images included in the log file. So now we can find the right key to rotate. And then we zoom in a little bit. That was too much, but yeah. And then you can click the images and see what it looked like at that point. So this is a pipe from the sewage here in Trondheim going into the ocean. So this is good to give you an overview of how it looks, or where the pictures belong in a way. Here's the end of the pipe. You can also get this star is every time you change title or subtitle, you will get a new pin with the location where you changed the section of the dive. And you get the summary of the dive here as well. So that can be convenient if you are doing a survey, for instance. Cool. Any questions?
No, thank you very much.
Yeah. I hope it was helpful for some of you at least.
Yeah, it was very informative.
That's good. Very good. And just start using them and try out new areas and new missions to do. And if you have troubles, you can just contact us again and we can see if there's a better way of doing it, or if you just succeed.
I have finally just a small question.
Yeah.
If you have like abrasion on the cable, do you have a quick fix for like small cuts or dents on the cable that you use some coating or?
On the tether?
Yes.
If it's cut all the way into through, so the water comes into the cable, then it's better to cut the cable and attach a new contact, but then it will be shorter, of course. But if it's only like a starting rip, you could make it stronger with some Wilk tape or similar, something that is made for underwater use. Or you can get Wilk tape on Claes Olsson even.
Yes. So that's what you guys use, or you just replace the cable?
We just don't break them and just replace them, and if they break. But yeah, they're quite robust, even though if you tie a knot on it, or if they look really damaged, they could still have a pretty good bandwidth. But you can see the bandwidth in the diagnostics page. So if it's in the app and you go to settings and diagnostics, you can see it says bandwidth or something. And as long as this is above 50 megabits per second, it's not a problem. But if there is a rip in the cable and water starts getting into the cable, the Kevlar will kind of suck up water, and then you could get a different impedance in the tether, and that could be degrading the tether speed over time. So then you could feel like the video is lagging more and more. And that is typically due to water in the cable over time. But since you have two drones, you can always swap tethers and check if it's better with the other, for instance.
It's more precautionary. If you have a small,
yeah,
there's a weak in the cable, then you can.
Yeah, then you can do some bulk tape, for instance.
Yeah, just we tend to lose all these magnet switches on and off, but they just find another magnet. Is that okay? Should we be careful by using too strong magnets?
No, I don't think that's a problem. Do you have the ones that are connected to the reels with the clip?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had.
No, then you need more discipline. No, yeah, it's just a magnet.
Yeah, just a magnet.
Yeah. And of course, you guys have the UGPS, so you should test out the guide on how to connect it to your drone software and see if you can get it into the log files and stuff. Have you been using it a lot earlier with the positioning system, or?
Just a trial and error with a fixed platform is easiest for us.
Yeah.
Both, yeah, as you said, having a mobile boat is not easy at all.
Yes.
No, this was just the beta version, so we or the previous version, so we haven't tried it with the new app. So that's what we want to try as soon as possible.
Yeah.
That sounds really good.
No, very good. And what are you guys doing? Like surveys or?
We are marine biologists. We do filming of the seabed, especially in the maybe harbor areas.
Okay.
Environmental surveys, long transects and stuff.
Yeah. And then it really makes sense with a positioning system to know where you've been.
To document that you have been in the right place is important.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Is it DNV or what company are you?
Yeah.
Yes.
DNV.
I saw you on the attendance list, but I wasn't sure if it was this camera.
I'm very happy with the extreme.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's very good. And of course, like new sensors such as the CTD and chlorophyll and stuff might be interesting for you as well. Yeah. I would imagine.
We're really interested in the new battery. We want to maybe buy one of those to get some more extra time. So do you have you say spring, summer, or?
Yes. It is finished. It's just in certification now. So there have been some issues with how those batteries were produced, but it will be available as soon as we get it fully certified in the transportation certification. So it will come.
Good.
Anyone else?
Sorry, one more question.
Yes.
Did you just I didn't get it to work. I've been trying to get. I have an Android phone, but to get the Wi-Fi and 5G or 4G working simultaneously.
Yes.
Is there? Do you have like a how to do it on your webpage, or you try to find?
Yes, I think there is. We updated that quite recently, like how it's done on Android. It has changed not too long ago because they removed the. Like on Android, it worked automatically last year, but then they removed it because some people didn't like the way they used way too much 5G data. And then it became quite difficult to do it. So now you either have to have this, it's almost like a VPN application on your phone. So a third-party app that kind of joins the two networks. Or you can put your phone into a developer mode by tapping 7 times on somewhere. And then it allows you to use both. but it is. I think it is in the support page, if I'm not wrong, Petter. I can check it up for you, but that's only for the live streaming on Zoom or Teams that you would need that now, because of since you can cache the map in the app, you don't need internet while diving. So that's also a huge improvement from the water-linked application, because then you need 5G to have the map inside the GUI, right? But now we can use the cached map to show the position in the app.
Nice, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And of course, if you have the position system, you will also get that in the CSV file. When you hit export file and then choose CSV, there will be 2 columns with lat long and also in UTM, I think. If all these survey guys are usually in UTM. And also for the point of interest, you can also put this in as a CSV file with the UTM locations, and it will be converted to lat long in the app. So it accepts both lat long and UTM.
That makes work a lot easier. Thank you.
Yes, that's the plan. So, if no other questions, I'm really happy you all tagged along for so long. And just send me an email if you have any problems to support@blueye.no, and it will be forwarded to me right away, I guess. All right, thank you very much. Bye-bye, guys.